Week 10 in the NFL is over. It's time to take a look at Week 11. And you know, here on the Bottom Line View, every week begins with a new set of power rankings where I rank every single team in the NFL from the worst, number 32, to the best, the number one team in the NFL, which right now kind of happens to be a really tough question to answer. So if you have an answer, let me know in the comment section below. Who do you think is the best team in the NFL today entering Week 11? I'll let you know at the end of this video. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Week 11 is here, and it's time to rank every team in the NFL. Let's begin at the worst team in the NFL, and that happens to be the New York G-Men. The New York Giants, with Tommy DeVito, are without a doubt the worst team in the NFL. Did you watch the Cowboys game? Probably not. I hope not, at least. Why would you? This kid is not going to last much longer, man. He's going to get hurt. Something's going to happen. It's bad. It's really bad. He is a third-string quarterback, at best, in the NFL. If the Giants are trying to tank, they're doing a really good job. They have offensive linemen turning around and looking like linebackers trying to tackle Saquon Barkley. It's embarrassing. They were blown out like a practice versus the Dallas Cowboys last week. They are by far the worst team in the NFL. I don't think it's close. I really do not think it is close. They are the only team where I can honestly say are an automatic win at this point in the season. They are an automatic W if you play this team. At number 31, the Carolina Panthers are not much better. Bryce Young does not look the part of a first overall pick. They can barely protect the young kid, and he doesn't have much to throw to other than an old man Adam Thielen. The defense has just absolutely been destroyed up and down the depth chart by injury, and the coaching staff seems lost and without answers. This team is not only boring, but they just flat out stink. They don't play a style of football that's entertaining, innovative, creative. They don't really do anything, in my mind, that elevates the young quarterback. I'm really, really confused with the direction of this franchise after selling out to pick young Bryce Young. We'll see where this goes for the rest of the year. At number 30, my New England Patriots, who now probably are going to bench Mac Jones. And as bad as Mac Jones has been at times this year, I think that's only going to be a downgrade given who they have on the roster. Will Grier will likely be the starter moving forward, at least out of the bye week, with Bailey Zappi proving once again he's not an NFL starting quarterback, barely a backup. He was cut before the season, guys. He's not anything. It's not like Malik Cunningham's going to get thrown in there. The defense did play well against the Colts. They do have a capability to keep them in games versus opponents, but the offense is just a disaster, right? Even with the way they ran the ball against the Colts, they could barely score any points. Receiving core is bad. Offensive line's even worse. Bill Belichick, time to go, pal. At number 29, the Chicago Bears. I honestly think if they were to play tomorrow, the Bears would defeat the Patriots no matter where they played. And I'm not just saying that because the Bears beat the Patriots last year, but honestly, the Bears look like a team on offense that actually can move the ball a little bit. Whether it's DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, or the different running backs they've been throwing in there. Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert should be back soon. They can run it. They can throw it a little bit. They've had multiple quarterbacks play, and both of them have had success. So honestly, if you're looking at the offense, I think the biggest problem for them is quarterback. Like, the offensive line isn't great. I think the receiving core is fine. It's not fantastic, but I think they have enough there to give you an offense if you had a good quarterback. I just don't think they have one. One of them is really athletic and flawed as a passer, and the other is just an undrafted rookie quarterback who's fighting, but he's just not that talented. So at number 29, the Bears. I think their defense with Sweat coming in has helped, but they're still not very good. At least they're somewhat watchable in comparison to a New England or a Carolina, and they did just beat the Panthers, so give them credit for that at number 29. At number 28, the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, I don't understand the respect they're still getting by the books out there. Like, this team's really bad. Jordan Love stinks. He's horrible. He throws the ball behind his receivers constantly. He fails to throw into tight windows at a consistent rate. His mechanics are sloppy and all over the place, which leads to incompletions and interceptions. The offensive line is probably one of the worst Packers offensive lines we've seen in years. Their run game is inconsistent because of it. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, or it doesn't matter. And the defense is just a mess. Like, what is their identity? What do they do well? Their coaching is a disaster. They have good pieces across the roster, but it just feels like they have zero identity, and the quarterback really holds back the offense. So at number 28, the Packers. At number 27, the Cardinals. Beep, beep. The Roadrunner is back, and that's enough for me to move them up a few spots. They just beat the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I want to know if that's kind of a fluke or not. I don't think the Cardinals are very talented, but at least they do have a quarterback that's capable of carrying a team every once in a while and scoring some points and being dangerous versus just about any opponent. Nice to see Trey McBride get in the action. Marquise Brown can play. We've seen Rondale Moore get some receptions. I like what they have in the Wilson kid. The O-line is decent, and James Conner provides a steady run force, but the defense is pretty bad, and overall, this team is just pretty flawed. So Kyler's going to have to do a lot to beat other teams in this league, no matter who it is. So at number 27, I have the Cardinals, pretty much because of Kyler. At number 26, the Tennessee Titans, who are, I feel like, a worse team than people give them credit for in terms of, like, what they have on their team. They don't have a lot. Like, this is the thing. Like, Mike Vrabel, I'm not sure what's going to be the future for him. Is he going to stay as the Titans coach? Is he going to get traded elsewhere? Hopefully the Patriots. Is he going to be let go? Like, is he part of the solution? Are they going to want to move in a different direction? Because Will Levis has shown flashes that he could potentially be a starter in this league, has a really big arm, is super tough, has some mobility, some things you like, some traits. The offensive line is a disaster, which really leads to them playing awful road football because they can't run the ball and they can't throw the ball, especially on third down with a bad offensive line because bad offensive lines don't travel well. Defensively, they're strong in the front seven. They're pretty creative in the back end, but their coverage unit consistently fails them in these games and gives up too many explosive plays. So at number 26, the Titans, just a flawed overall football team that will play gritty, play tough, but ultimately come up on the losing end more often than not. At number 25, the Los Angeles Rams, one of the tougher teams to rank on the bottom half of this list. Matthew Stafford certainly makes this team a lot better, but they are very flawed on defense. They don't have a lot of talent outside of Aaron Donald. They have some young guys that have flashed, but it feels like since their hot start to the season, they've been figured out on defense, and teams have just figured out how to attack the offensive line, which is pretty weak. So if Stafford gets into a script where he's having to throw 40 times, it's just really tough for them to consistently put up points against above average teams. We haven't really seen the Rams play a lot of bad teams, which is why I say, well, with Stafford, they should be able to beat some of these teams that are at their level. Just so happens that on their schedule, they don't have a ton of those. But this week they play Seattle again, and they already beat Seattle, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe the Rams could sneak up on some people and have a good end of this season. I respect Sean McVay. I respect Raheem Morris. I really respect Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and the crew. We'll see what they have in store for the last half of the season. I'm open to moving them up this list. Next up, after the Rams, is number 24, Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 5-5, believe it or not. But I still am not believing that they're a top 20 team in this league, just because Aiden O'Connell is probably a bottom, at the very least, being conservative, a bottom 10 quarterback in this league. He's shown flashes. I do like what I've seen. I think his arm strength pops. I think that he is a big, strong kid that seems to make mostly the correct decision. But you can clearly see the Raiders want to play a certain style of football. They want to run the ball. They're going to protect their quarterback from making mistakes by running the ball a lot, utilizing a lot of play action, which also helps kind of hide their offensive line. And then they're going to get the ball to their playmakers, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. It's a good formula. It just doesn't really work against good teams because they don't have the quarterback to really execute. The offensive line can be exposed at times. If they can't really run the ball, their offense is in trouble. The defense is kind of average. They fight really hard. Max Crosby's really good. I like the pickup of Jack Jones. I think potentially Antonio Pierce being his high school coach. That's an interesting little storyline there. Jack Jones has talent. Could instantly start for this team if he's healthy. It's interesting. At the very least, a guy like Marcus Peters taking him under his wing, very similar type of player. I'm intrigued by it, but the Raiders, I want to see how they play against the Chiefs. I want to see how they play against the Dolphins coming up because it feels like they've been hanging in games against similar opponents and they won the game at home. They beat Tommy DeVito. Like, congratulations. Do you want a cookie? But let's see how they do against better teams. If they prove to me, not win, but prove to me they can hang in those games, I'll move them up the list. At number 23, the Atlanta Falcons, who are steadily declining and steadily falling down this list. Mostly because the quarterback position is stanky and the coach doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, I don't know what he's doing half the time. Who's he playing? Who's he trying to target? Who's he getting the ball? The defense is steadily declining week after week after week. And yeah, this team overall kind of started the season promising, but since then just have lost to some games they shouldn't have lost. And I think Vikings, Josh Dobbs off the plane, like never been in the offense. That's a bad loss. Playing Kyler Murray, first game off a knee injury, bad loss. So number 23, I got to go Atlanta here. At number 22, the New York Jets. The Jets are just a disaster on offense. Like, Zach Wilson isn't any good, but more importantly, they take too many penalties, too many negative plays. They turn the football over too often and really get in their own way too often. Defense is dominant, especially against the pass. They have a very good pass rush. At times, they can be ran on with toughness, grit, and physicality, but if they play a certain script where they are not behind early, they hang in the game, their defense can give them opportunity to win games. I just feel like their offense is coached so poorly, and they don't have a quarterback that's really going to make a big difference. Their receiving core isn't good. The offensive line isn't good. There's not a lot to really like about the Jets on one side of the ball, which keeps them at number 22. At number 21, the Indianapolis Colts, a team that I think is a little bit more balanced than somebody like the Jets, but they're just not great on either side of the ball. They're above average on offense, in my opinion, even led by Gardner Minshew. The offensive line's pretty good. They run the ball exceptionally well most weeks. Last week was a tough kind of matchup for them because the Patriots are good against the run. They're big, they're physical, kind of takes away the edge of the Colts offensive line. And also you got Belichick scheming things up against Gardner Minshew. But I like what I've seen from Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I do think Alec Pierce could use more of the ball. And then Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss have been a nice tandem out of the backfield. Isaiah McKenzie using his speed a little bit more would be an element I'd like to see on offense as well. But defensively, they played a good game against New England. It's New England, though, so this isn't an offense that you're really kind of, oh, that's a great offense that we just shut down. No. So the Colts kind of have a below-average defense with kind of a little bit slightly above-average offense. It keeps them relevant, and it keeps them exciting, but they're just not that good overall, like, let's be honest. At number 20, the Washington Commanders, who are similar to the Colts, but I think they have a better offense. I think the Commanders probably have the most underrated offense in the NFL right now, led by Eric Bieniemy's play calling and Sam Howell's savviness. His ability to create with his legs or his arm and buy time behind the line of scrimmage to make throws down the field is really explosive. It's leading to a lot of big plays for Washington. Their receiving core is stacked and they have a lot of depth, and they're utilizing a lot of different targets within the offense. The run game's sprinkling in just enough for them to be successful, and that keeps them in a lot of shootouts against average to slightly above average teams. They can go toe-to-toe because of their offense. The defense is pretty bad. They still have some good players on that unit, especially with Payne and Allen some of their secondary guys. I think Forbes has improved, but the defense has been playing better than I feel like I thought they would post Sweat and Chase Young being traded, but they're still not playing well. So at number 20, I have the Commanders. At number 19, the New Orleans Saints, who knows who their quarterback's going to be? Jameis Winston, Derek Carr. I'd love to see Jameis Winston in there just because he's more exciting and more entertaining. I do think they got away from the Taysom Hill element, which did, I think, hurt their productivity on offense, especially, in the red zone, short yardage, things like that. Like to see that increased. But they do have some playmakers. Receiving core is really talented. Chris Olave had a good game. Rashid Shaheed is a talented, fast player. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. They've got elements you like across the board. Juwan Johnson's another guy I like. Just feels like they need a quarterback to click and to hit all the buttons. It feels like Carr's been hit and miss. The O-line's hit and miss. The defense, they're weird because I feel like they're schematically sound. They've got really good coverage unit. Front seven feels like they don't get enough pressure sometimes, and that really hurts their defense like it did against the Vikings. Next up at number 18, the Denver Broncos. On a winning streak now and playing really good football. They beat the Packers. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. I mean, really impressive wins here over this stretch. Defense is playing at a top 10 level right now under Vance Joseph. Give him a round of applause for his turnaround with this unit. Sean Payton's getting the most out of Russell Wilson. Javonte Williams is adding a physical element to this football team. And their receivers are making just enough plays, especially Courtland Sutton. So I like the formula for the Broncos. They're not super talented. They have some good players. The offensive line is really improved, but I feel like they're going to have to grind out most games they play. If the defense can play at this level, they might kind of hang around the wild card spot. I mean, they really might, the way they've been playing. At number 17, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Somewhat similar to the Broncos, like a managed quarterback, but I feel like Baker, he's made more explosive throws than Russ this year. I think Russ does more kind of outside structure, more creative type of player. Offensive line for the Bucs, I think, has played pretty well considering the pieces. The run game needs to get it going. They'd be a much better team if they could run the ball, which hasn't been the case in Tampa for a couple of years now. The defense did have a huge bounce back performance against Will Levis at home. That's nice to see. The defense is going to have to be more consistent for them to win this division. At number 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They found another way to win a game by being outgained. It's truly impressive. It's truly iconic. I don't know how they do it. At a certain point, you just say Mike Tomlin and throw your hands up. But I will say in the Steelers, for a positive note, defense didn't play well. I felt like the offense actually won this game more than most games they've played this year. I thought the offense really stepped up, especially in the fourth quarter, Kenny Pickett making plays, and then the run game early on really set the tempo. So at number 16, the Steelers, I'd expect their defense, to play much better this week against the Browns in a really important AFC North divisional matchup. At number 15, the Los Angeles Chargers, which the fans in LA heard a lot this past week with the first downs and all the yards and all the scores that the Chargers were able to put up. But their defense was awful, and this is no different from what we've seen against good offenses this year. Brandon Staley is a disaster, and Justin Herbert's best game couldn't get it done against the Lions on the road. That's a problem, man. Justin Herbert is a great player. Keenan Allen played his heart out, but you need more out of that defense that's making a ton of money and a defensive coach as your head coach. It's a disaster. At number 14, the Minnesota Vikings. The vibes are very high for the Vikings. Josh Dobbs is posting TikToks of his rushing touchdowns. The offensive line is playing at an elite level most weeks. The receiving core is going to get reinforcements with Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne. And the defense is playing at a top 5 level for a while now. Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators in football without a doubt, and one of the most valuable coordinators in all of football. This Vikings team is going toe-to-toe with everyone right now. At number 13, the Buffalo Bills. Really tricky team to figure out. I still think their offense is going to be very good for the rest of the year, led by Josh Allen. James Cook needs to be the feature back more often than not. Stephon Diggs is phenomenal, no matter how much he may complain to his brother. And Dalton Kincaid is starting to get it going. But the defense is the worst in football since week 5. And they have no answers for opposing offenses, which kind of forces Josh Allen to be mistake Allen, right? He's going to make mistakes. He's going to force it. He's going to play hero ball. It's not the solution for the Bills. They need to find a better way to play better defense. Maybe they should be more aggressive. I'm not sure. But the Bills' offense needs to just stop turning the ball over, and they'll start winning these games like the Broncos game that they should have easily won. At number 12, the Seattle Seahawks. Wasn't really impressed by their performance against Commanders, but hey, they came through. They won the game. Geno continues to make throws in the fourth quarter and at the end of the game to win them games, kind of like Russ used to. The defense, I think, is actually the better unit on this team right now. I like the way their defensive line's playing, and I really like Tariq Woolen and Flowers. Or Witherspoon, sorry. Not Zay Flowers. Witherspoon. The two small guys at corner and receiver. But Devin Witherspoon is probably the best corner in this entire division right now. He's playing that well. The safety trio makes plays every week. Seattle has good vibes about them. Coaching is solid. I'd like to see more out of the offense. I'd like to see more consistency out of the passing game, out of Geno, more easy buttons. I say that every week. It's not happening. It's keeping bad teams in games with the Seahawks. At number 11, Jacksonville. Offense is too horizontal. They got their ass kicked by a fast defense in the Niners. Hopefully that makes them look in the mirror and say, we can't play this way against good defenses, and change something, become more vertical, put more pressure on Trevor Lawrence to overcome the deficiencies of the offensive line. It's going to have to happen. Move Calvin Ridley around. Use him in a different fashion. That has to happen. It can't just be Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne making plays for this offense. Then defensively, they just got shredded by a really good offense and a really good coordinator who had time to prepare. I'm sure they'll bounce back. They had moments in this game. It just wasn't consistent. I think that they'll find a way to see what their weaknesses are and change that. The linebacker position had been playing really well for them. It got exposed in that game. The pass rush had some moments, but overall didn't play great. And the secondary got beat like an absolute drum. So Jacksonville, outside my top 10, they're the second best team in their division right now, in my opinion. At number 10, the Cleveland Browns. I think the defense that, statistically, I'm not sure if they're first or not, but I think they're the most important defense in the NFL to their outcome of wins and losses. If this defense plays like it did against the Ravens, opportunistic, blocking field goals on special teams, pick sixes on defense, key sacks by Myles Garrett and company, they can win any game against any opponent, which makes them scary. As long as they run the football with Ford and company, they can stay in games, they can pace games out, and Deshaun, if he just has to make a few throws, he can do it. If you have to rely on him consistently, he's going to be an issue. That's why they're at number 10. At number 9, the Houston Texans. They are a huge riser for me after a thoroughly impressive victory of the Bengals, a game that they nearly gave away, but I felt like for 3 quarters, they were easily the better team. Their offense, I think, truly opened my eyes to how explosive they can be. The big explosive gains is a sign of a really good offense. Them finding a running game with Devin Singletary, that was nice to see. CJ Stroud playing like an MVP, that was nice to see. Noah Brown making plays. No Nico Collins, doesn't matter. Dalton Schultz will make the big play. Tank Dell making a touchdown, creating plays, separation, all that. MVP caliber quarterback play from a rookie. And the defense, I think, is trending forward. Their pass rush is really underrated. Look out for it at number 9. At number 8, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins. We're off this week. They're back against the Raiders. I fully expect them to take care of business. The reason I'm confident in the Dolphins at number 8, their defense. I like what I saw before the bye the last couple of games since getting Jalen Ramsey. I think that will trend towards being just as good or near as good as their offense, which I think will take steps back, but I still think will be good. I feel like Tua has been really solid this year. He's had some down moments, especially against the Chiefs, but against teams like the Raiders, they've proven they can handle their business, explode, destroy teams. It's just a matter of beating good teams. And The Dolphins, to me, the reason they're at 8 is because they destroy every team that's not a good team, and against good teams, they lose to good teams. So they're that one team that you know is going to lose against good teams, but beat the bad teams. That's why they're at number 8. Number 7, the Detroit Lions feel kind of similar to Miami. I just think they're more of a threat to beat good teams right now. The way that they're able to play offense, Jared Goff is dealing. The offensive line is physical and tough. The run game, the running back duo is dynamic. Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown's unstoppable. I want to see more options get open and make plays for this offense for them to truly be unstoppable. The defense has regressed. Aiden Hutchinson's performance seemingly has dropped off a little bit. Secondary's getting beat too much. They play too much zone. But they are a bit opportunistic. Like, the reason they beat the Chargers is their defense made more plays than the Chargers at the beginning of the game and made them the favorite and gave them a chance to really lead in this game, which is where they want to be. At number 6, the Cincinnati Bengals. Really disappointed by their defense against Houston. Thought they got shredded by outside zone and play action stuff, and it was embarrassing to watch for a defense that's usually so fundamentally sound, so well coached, so game plan sound. They weren't against the Niners, and Kyle took them to school, as well as Brock Purdy. The offense is really, really good. I'm not worried about that. The only thing I'm worried about is them playing good defensive lines in big moments. They got destroyed and dismantled by the Texans. But you got Joe Burrow, you got Jamar Chase. Overall experienced championship quality team. I think they're a top 5 team, top 6 team, at least top 7 in this league right now. And you can make an argument they should be higher based on their recent performance. At number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. I just think the Dallas Cowboys are a really complete team. Now, maybe they're not the best team in the NFL, but they have very few flaws. The offensive line is good. The receiving core has made plays as of late, all around, Brandon Cooks included. CeeDee Lamb has been phenomenal, a go-to target that you need. Jalen Ferguson stepped up. The run game with Dowdle combining with Pollard has been nice to watch. The defense is top 3 in football, in my opinion, top 3 or 4. Pass rush is excellent, and they can take advantage of bad offensive lines with regularity. Dak Prescott's playing some of the best football of his career. That's why they're at number 5. At number 4, the San Francisco 49ers, who I moved back up. The Niners are who I thought they were, and I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm moving them up my power rankings. Brock Purdy, baller, chain mover, shot caller, and you got all the boys back, and that's really the magic that we saw. The offensive line's much better with Trent Williams in pure passing situations. Deebo Samuel is a great chain mover and explosive player, and that just opens up better matchups for CMC and Kittle and Ayuk. And then defensively, Chase Young really ignited the spark that they needed. Steve Wilkes seemed to be more aggressive, let them play downhill more, a little bit more aggressive in coverage, and they played super fast. Now, the only question I have about the Niners defense is how much of it was the matchup against Jacksonville? How much of it was the turnaround? But I like their run defense the most out of everything I saw in that game. At number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles, who Eagles fans are going to say, why aren't we number 1? We only have 1 loss. Yeah, I get it. I'm just concerned about the defense at times. I'm concerned about the secondary against good quarterbacks like we saw against Dallas. And I feel like at times, when your passing offense and your passing defense are secondary options for success on a team, it makes me hold you off as the best team in the NFL. Now, that doesn't mean you're still excellent. You have arguably the most talented team in the NFL. You have solid coaching. Jalen Hurts is elite. The offensive line is awesome and the best in football. The defensive line is one of the best in football. It's just I don't love the linebackers. I don't love the secondary. I think the passing rhythm and the scheme can be a bit hit and miss. I want to see how they play against the Chiefs. That's a really difficult matchup for them. If they win that game, I might put them at number 1 next week. At number 2, the Chiefs, who I do favor over the Eagles this week. They're at home. I do like the matchup for the Chiefs against the Eagles. I love the way their defense is playing. They're coming off a bye week. But I do have questions about the offense, which keeps them from being number 1. Mahomes is awesome. Kelsey is awesome, especially when Taylor Swift is watching. But I need more consistency out of the rest of the offense here. At number 2, Kansas City. You could argue number 1. I wouldn't hate it. I just feel like the offense hasn't been good enough for me to put them at number 1. The most complete and best team is still Baltimore. They lost a game against Cleveland. It was very fluky. There was 5 minutes left in the third. They were up by 24-9, 15 points. Then in the fourth quarter, they were up by 14 points, 31-17. They found a way to throw the ball off a guy's helmet into the arms of Greg Newsome for a touchdown. And overall, like, that's a divisional game. It's wacky. It's weird. It's Browns. It's Ravens. It's AFC North. I'm not really going to look at the AFC North teams by the end of the year and say, this is their record. This is how good they are. The AFC North is the toughest division in the NFL by far. Everyone beats up on everyone. At the end of the day, you have to use your eye test, and you have to be backed up by statistics. And the Ravens have 2 statistics that indicate they're still the best team despite the loss. Only 28 minutes trailing through 10 games is in the top 3 of all time. Most impressive. They also were a top 3 DVOA team of all time before this past game. That being said, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best defenses in the league, a really good offensive line when healthy, which is part of the reason they lost the Browns because they got hurt. The receiving core is better than it was ever before. I have the Ravens still at number 1. I know that a lot of people will be shocked by that, but I'm not really going to move off of that stance, at least for now. If they lose to the Bengals, I will reevaluate, but I feel like that was mostly a fluky loss to the Browns. Those are my power rankings. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe. We will see you for Week 11 NFL picks. Peace.